I was 3 years into rebuilding my life after my ex-boyfriend dumped me when his sister showed up at my bakery with a suitcase. She said she needed a place to stay for a few days because her brother had just stolen her wedding fund to support his new girlfriend. Rain pounded against the windows of Sweet Remedies as I wiped down the counter for the 10th time. Tuesday afternoons were always slow, but this storm had turned my bakery into a ghost town. I was calculating how many more months I could keep the lights on when the bell above the door jingled. "We're still open," I called out, not bothering to look up from the register. "The strawberry tarts are half off today, Olivia. Is that really you?" I froze. That voice was familiar, but it wasn't possible. I slowly raised my head and nearly dropped the cloth I was holding. Maya. I couldn't believe Jason's little sister was standing in my bakery soaking wet with mascara streaming down her face, dragging a massive suitcase behind her. "I know this is crazy," she said, pushing her drenched hair from her face, "and I wouldn't blame you if you kicked me out right now, but I didn't know where else to go. 3 years ago, Jason had walked out of my apartment with half my belongings and all of my trust. We dated for 4 years, even talked about marriage until he suddenly decided I wasn't ambitious enough for his 5-year plan. The last I heard, he'd moved to Chicago with the marketing executive he met at a conference. I hadn't spoken to any of his family since. What are you doing here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "How did you even find me?" Maya gave a sad laugh. "Your bakery's website. I always followed your baking on Instagram, and even after, I didn't know what to say. Tast and I had been close once. She was the sister I never had, until her brother broke my heart and she disappeared along with him. I get it if you hate me," she continued when I didn't respond. "But Jason's done something awful, and you are the only person who might understand." "What could be so terrible that you'd come to me?" I asked, though part of me already knew the answer involved Jason being exactly who I discovered he was. Selfish to the core. She took a deep breath. "I'm supposed to get married in 3 months. Was supposed to. Jason was holding my wedding fund, family tradition. The older sibling manages it." She laughed bitterly. "Just today I found out he emptied the account. $42,000 gone." "Jesus," I whispered. "For what?" "A down payment on a condo for him and Veronica, his girlfriend of the month. They move in next week." Her voice cracked. "My fiancé son doesn't know yet. I can't face him." I stared at her, this ghost from my past life, and tried to process what she was asking without saying. "You need a place to stay," I said finally. She nodded, eyes downcast. "Just for a few days until I figure things out. I'd go to a hotel, but your brother took your money," I finished for her. The sensible part of my brain screamed to send her away. Nothing good could come from letting a Wilson back into my life. But the look on her face, I'd worn that same expression for months after Jason left. "The apartment above the bakery isn't much," I heard myself saying, "but here is a pull-out couch." Relief washed over her face, but then her eyes caught something behind me. I turned to follow her gaze to the wall where I'd framed my first dollar and my bakery's mission statement. "Turning bitter experiences into sweet remedies. Appropriate," she said with a strange smile. "Because I have an idea that might solve both our problems. I've been watching your social accounts, Olivia. Your treats are amazing, but this location is killing you." She stepped closer, suddenly animated despite her bedraggled appearance. "What would you say to a shot at national television exposure and a $100,000 prize?" I should have told her to leave right then, but I didn't know that opening my door to Tash Wilson would be the second biggest mistake of my life. $100,000, I repeated, eyeing Tagus suspiciously as I handed her a towel. We had moved upstairs to my small apartment, rain still hammering against the windows. "What are you talking about?" Maya dabbed at her wet hair and pulled out her phone. "Sweet Success. It's a new baking competition on the Food Network. I've been working in event marketing for the past 2 years, and my company is handling some of the PR. She pulled up a flashy fouet showing bakers and pristine kitchens holding elaborate pastries. "The grand prize is $100,000 and a feature in Dessert Monthly," she continued. "Free ship. Half a deadline is this Friday. And you just happened to think of this when you needed a place to stay." Her expression faltered. "I've actually been thinking about reaching out for a while. Your Instagram posts. I can tell you've been struggling with the bakery." She gestured to my apartment with its mismatched furniture and peeling paint. This just forced my hand. She wasn't wrong. Sweet Remedies had been my post-Jason therapy project, a way to channel my heartbreak into something productive. I'd sank my savings into it, but downtown rent was crushing me, and foot traffic was sparse in this part of town. "Why would you help me?" I asked bluntly. "We haven't spoken in 3 years. "Not since your brother." "I know," she interrupted, her eyes suddenly wet again. "I should have reached out after what Jason did. He told us all these lies about you, and I believed him because he's my brother. By the time I realized the truth, I figured you wouldn't want anything to do with me." I couldn't decide if she was sincere or if this was some elaborate Wilson family console. "What exactly are you proposing?" "We enter as a team. Your recipes and baking skills, my marketing and presentation expertise. We split the prize." She leaned forward, eyes bright despite her exhaustion. "Olivia, I've tasted your lemon lavender composi. You could win this thing with the right packaging." I walked to the window watching raindrops race down the glass. "And Jason, does he know you are here?" "No," she said quietly. "We had a huge fight when I confronted him about the money," he said. She hesitated. "He said some cruel things. About me. About you." Something in her voice made me turn around. "What kind of things?" She shook her head. "It doesn't matter. What matters is I am done being manipulated by him. I want my wedding fund back, and I want to see him face consequences for once in his privileged life." The old wound of Jason's betrayal throbbed faintly, but it wasn't as painful as it once had been. Still, the idea of doing anything with his sister felt like reopening a chapter I'd tried hard to close. "I don't know, Tayest. Just think about it," she urged. "The show starts filming in 3 weeks. Even if we don't win, the exposure could change everything for Sweet Remedies." My phone buzzed with a text from my landlord. "Rent 3 days. Late final warning." Mia caught my expression. Problems. I slipped the phone into my pocket. "Nothing I can't handle." She didn't push, but reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. "My marketing portfolio. Look me up if you don't believe me." I took the card reluctantly. "As it Wilson have prejudiced at Apex Promotions." There was a QR code linking to her work samples. "I'll sleep on it," I said finally. Later that night, after settling Tatis on the pull-out couch, I scrolled through her professional website. The client testimonials were glowing. Her social media campaigns had apparently doubled foot traffic for several small businesses. I opened my bakery's sales budget and stared at the declining numbers. At this rate, I'd be closed in 2 months. What choice did I really have? My phone lit up with another text. This one from an unknown number. "Did my sister find you yet? Tell her I want my key back." Jay, I sat up straight, heart pounding. Jason. After all this time, just casually texting like he hadn't shattered my life, and he knew Hazich was here. She claimed he didn't. The next morning I showed Hazich the text. "He must have tracked my phone," she said, going pale. "I should have known he would." "You said he didn't know you were coming here," I pointed out, trying to keep the accusation out of my voice. "He didn't. At least I I didn't tell him, she ran her hands through her hair. Olivia, Jason has always been controlling. Why do you think he had access to my wedding fund? My parents think he can do no wrong. I studied her face, searching for any sign of deception. Are you using me to get back at him? No, she said firmly, meeting my eyes. I am trying to fix what he broke for both of us. But if you want me to leave, I'll do it, I interrupted, surprising myself. The competition, but we split everything 50-50, and you have to be honest with me. No more surprises. Maya broke into a smile so genuinely relieved that I almost believed her deal. Let's make that jerk sorry he ever underestimated either of us. We shook hands and I tried to ignore the unsettling similarity between her confident smile and her brother's. The same smile he'd worn right before telling me I wasn't worth staying for. 2 weeks into our partnership, I had to admit Tadas knew what she was doing. Her social media campaign for Sweet Remedies had tripled my weekend sales, and our Sweet Success application had been accepted with enthusiastic feedback from the producers. They loved your showstopper concept, Tysex said, walking into the kitchen, where I was experimenting with a new cardamom rose petal cake. The producer specifically mentioned your story of resilience as compelling television. I glanced up from my mixing bowl. My story, what exactly did you tell them? She had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Just that you built this business from scratch after a personal setback. They eat that stuff up? She dipped a finger into the frosting and tasted it. This is incredible, by the way. I'd been careful about how much of myself I revealed to Tajist, despite living in close quarters. Our conversation stayed focused on the bakery and competition prep, deliberately skirting around the Jason-shaped hole in our shared history. I've been working on our presentation strategy, she continued, pulling out her tablet. We need something that sets us apart from the 12 other teams. As she scrolled through her marketing plan, my phone buzzed with an Instagram notification. Right, Sweet Remedies had gained another 100 followers overnight. Whatever else might be true about Tanis, she was delivering on her promises for the business. Oh, I almost forgot, she said, suddenly digging through her purse. Mail came for you downstairs. She handed me an envelope with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Stay away from my sister, or your little bakery secret gets exposed. Not all ingredients are FDA approved, are they? My stomach dropped. I hadn't cut corners on ingredients, but I had been operating without the proper permits for the first 3 months, a violation that could result in massive fines if reported. What is it, Pasix asked, noting my expression. I hesitated, then handed her the note. Your brother, I assume. She read it, her face darkening. This is absolutely Jason. Threatening people is his specialty. She crumpled the papers. I'm so sorry, Olivia. I never should have dragged you into this. How would he even know about the permits? I asked, watching her carefully. He probably doesn't, she said quickly. He's fishing. It's what he does. Throws out vague threats hoping to hit a nerve. She touched my arm. Don't let him get to you. That's exactly what he wants. That night I heard Tazix on the phone in the bathroom, her voice a harsh whisper. I moved closer to the door, telling myself it wasn't really eavesdropping if it involved threats to my business. You need to stop this right now, she was saying. I told you I am not playing your games anymore. No, I don't care what Dad thinks. This isn't about her. It's about you stealing my future. Well, maybe I will tell them everything. There was a long pause. He wouldn't dare, she finally said, her voice trembling. If you expose her, I'll expose you right back. Remember Melissa's investment? Had I kept those emails, my stomach twisted. Was she talking about me? What was there to expose? The next morning, Tazix was unusually quiet as we prepared for our practice run of the competition recipe. She kept checking her phone, jumping slightly each time it buzzed. Everything okay? I asked, measuring ingredients with careful precision. Fine, she said too brightly, just nervous about the competition. It's only 10 days away now. I set down my measuring cup. Stasis. If T here is something going on with Jason that affects me or this bakery, I need to know. She hesitated, then sighed deeply. He's threatening to come here. He says he has unfinished business with both of us. What kind of unfinished business could he possibly have with me? I demanded. He's the one who walked out. Maya wouldn't meet my eyes. Jason has a way of rewriting history to make himself the victim. In his version, you drove him away. I laughed bitterly. That's Rich. He's the one who cleaned out our joint account and disappeared with half our furniture. I know, she said quietly. And here is something else you should know. She pulled out her phone and hesitated before unlocking it. He's been keeping tabs on you, on your bakery, on your life. She turned the screen toward me. It was an album of Sirens, my bakery's website, my personal Instagram account, even photos of me entering my apartment building. What the hell is this? I whispered, feeling violated. Jason's obsessive. When people leave his life, or he forces them out, he needs to maintain some sort of control. She looked genuinely distressed. He asked me to help him monitor you when you first opened the bakery. I refused, but apparently he found other ways. I set the phone down, feeling sick. And you were just telling me this now? I wanted to protect you from knowing, she said, but with him threatening to come here, I ran my hands through my hair trying to process this new information. Does he have something concrete on the bakery, something that could shut me down? Her expression was unreadable. I don't know, but I wouldn't put it past him to fabricate something if he doesn't. Devon timer dinged, startling us both. We should focus on the competition, Tazich said, clearly eager to change the subject. It's our best chance to get enough money to fight back if he tries anything. I nodded slowly, turning to check on my cake. But as I opened the oven door, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something crucial, some piece of this puzzle that would explain why, after 3 years of silence, both Wilson siblings had suddenly crashed back into my life. The competition was just 5 days away when I discovered the first real crack in Tadish's story. I'd gone to the storage closet, looking for extra piping tips, and accidentally knocked over her suitcase. As I picked up the scattered contents, a familiar leather-bound notebook fell open. My notebook, the one I thought Jason had taken when he left. Inside were all my original recipe creations, including several I'd never shared publicly. My hands trembled as I flipped through pages of my own handwriting, notes about flavor combinations and techniques I'd spent years perfecting. What are you doing? I turned to find Hoste standing in the doorway, her face drained of color. Why do you have my recipe book? I asked quietly, closing it with deliberate care. She stepped forward, hands outstretched. Please do. I held the notebook against my chest, suddenly protective of my creative work in a way I hadn't needed to be since before Jason left. Maya sank onto the edge of the bed. Jason gave it to me last year. He said you'd left it behind, and he thought I might want it since I like to bake sometimes, and you didn't think to return it. Even after reconnecting with me, she looked genuinely ashamed. I was going to after the competition, I thought we might need it. We or you, the pieces were starting to align in uncomfortable ways. Is that why you really came here, Tessaish, for my recipes? No, she protested. The situation with Jason and the wedding fund is completely real. You can call my fiancé Esty if you don't believe me. I studied her face, searching for the truth. Then why keep this hidden? We've been preparing for 2 weeks. You've watched me recreate these recipes from memory because I thought they were gone. I was afraid, she admitted. Afraid to think exactly what you are thinking now, that I had some ulterior motive. She met my eyes. The truth is, I've always admired your baking, even before you dated Jason. Remember those chocolate eclairs you made for my graduation party? I've never tasted anything like them. The memory was from another lifetime before Jason betrayed me, before I poured my broken heart into sweet remedies. I thought by helping you win this competition, I'd be making up for not standing by you when Jason left, she continued. I was a coward then. I let family loyalty override what I knew was right. It was a good explanation, maybe too good. Here is something else you should see, I said, reaching for my phone. I pulled up the text Jason had sent me that first night and handed it to her. You said he didn't know you were coming here until he tracked your phone, but he texted me the same night you arrived. Her expression shifted, subtly surprised, then something unreadable. He must have figured it out right away. He's always been weirdly intuitive. Or maybe you told him, I suggested, taking back my phone. Maybe this whole thing is some elaborate setup. For what purpose? She demanded, standing up. To steal your recipes. I could have done that without the drama. To humiliate you on national television. That would be extremely short-sighted, given that I am trying to build a marketing career. She had a point, but something still felt off. I opened the notebook again, flipping to the back where I kept my business notes. There in the margins of my initial business plan for sweet remedies were unfamiliar notations and pencil weakness. Location choice, undercapitalized, no social strategy. I held up the page. Your handwriting. She sighed, shoulders slumping. Yes, I was assessing your business model. Why? Maya hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. Because I'd been planning to open my own bakery not right away, but eventually I wanted to understand where you went wrong so I could avoid those mistakes. The betrayal stung like salt in a fresh wound. So I am what? Your business case study? Your practice run? No, it's not like that. She ran her hands through her hair in frustration. Look, yes, I want to open a bakery someday. It's been my dream since we were both in Jason's life, but right now I genuinely want to help you succeed. Your success helps me too financially, and as proof of concept for my marketing skills, I wasn't sure what to believe anymore. And the wedding fund your fiancé just done, all real, she insisted. Call him right now if you want. His name is Derek Hansen. We've been engaged for 11 months. I set the notebook down on the bed between us. I need some air and some time to think, Olivia, please, she said, desperation creeping into her voice. We're so close to the competition. This could change everything for you, for both of us. I grabbed my jacket and keys. That's what I am afraid of outside. The early evening air was cool against my flushed face. I walked aimlessly, mind racing. Was Hezit manipulating me like her brother had, or was she genuinely trying to break free from Jason's influence while pursuing her own dreams? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. She's more like me than you know. Ask her about Atlantic City. -J attached was a photo of Tadish and Jason at what appeared to be a business conference, arms around each other's shoulders, smiling broadly. The date stamp was just 6 months ago, Atlantic City, I said, slapping the printed photo onto the bakery counter the next morning. 6 months ago? You told me you and Jason had a falling out over a year ago. Maya froze in the middle of arranging display cookies, her face draining of color. Where did you get that? Your brother sent it to me? I crossed my arms returnantly. He's not as out of touch with your life as you claimed. She carefully set down the cookie tray, buying time. It's not what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like you and Jason arm in arm, looking pretty chummy for siblings who supposedly hate each other? Maya exhaled slowly. That was a marketing conference. I didn't know he would be there. He's been trying to break into food industry promotion, and when he saw me, you posed for happy photos, I finished skeptically. You know how Jason is, she pleaded. Everything is appearances with him. We had a huge fight right after that photo was taken. That's when I found out he'd been monitoring your bakery. He wanted me to. She trailed off. Wanted you to what? My voice had gone dangerously quiet. She looked genuinely miserable. He wanted me to approach you, use our past connection to get close to you. The confirmation hit harder than I expected. So this whole thing showing up at my door, the competition, all of it was his idea. No, she protested. Yes, he suggested. Yes, he suggested reconnecting with you, but his motives were not good. He talked about reclaiming what was his and making you regret choosing baking over him. My laugh was bitter. That's rich. He's the one who said I wasn't ambitious enough, remember? I know. It's all part of how he rewrites history. She took a tentative step toward me. Olivia, I refused to help him. That's when things really deteriorated between us. But then he got control of my wedding fund, and when he stole it, she swallowed hard. I realized I could use his own plan against him. By coming to me, I said flatly, yes, but with honest intentions. Her eyes pleaded for understanding. The competition is real. My marketing skills are real. What I didn't tell you is that I knew if we won, if your bakery suddenly became successful, it would drive him crazy. I studied her face, trying to separate truth from manipulation. So I am what? Your revenge tool against Jason? No, you are my partner. And maybe she hesitated. Maybe my chance at redemption for not standing by you 3 years ago. The bell above the door jingled, making us both jump. A delivery man entered with a large bouquet of lilies, my favorite flowers, the ones only Jason would know about. Delivery for Olivia Chen, he announced cheerfully. I accepted the arrangement with numb fingers and opened the small card tucked among the blooms, looking forward to watching you both on sweet success. A leg or career -J, he knows about the competition, I whispered, showing Tazis the card. Of course he does, came a familiar voice from the doorway. I know everything about both of you. Jason Wilson stood there in an expensive suit, looking exactly like the successful business consultant he'd become, right down to the cold calculation in his eyes that I'd eventually recognized as his defining characteristic. Hello, ladies, he said smoothly. Could the partnership you formed, my ambitious ex-girlfriend and my duplicitous sister. Mia stepped in front of me. Get out, Jason. He ignored her eyes fixed on me. Did she tell you about her little bakery plans, Olivia? Sweet Success isn't just a competition title for Temich, it's her business plan. Uri has the domain name registered and everything. My gaze snapped to Tashish, whose face confirmed the truth before she could deny it. That doesn't mean, she began. Show her the trademark application, Jason interrupted, a cruel smile playing at his lips. The one using your grandmother's modified recipes? The ones you've been so diligently learning from Olivia? Is that true? I asked quietly. Maya's silence was answer enough. You know what's fascinating, Jason continued, clearly enjoying himself. You both thought you were using each other when really I've been orchestrating this whole reunion? What are you talking about? I demanded. Sweet Success isn't just any competition, he said, straightening his tie. The production company is one of my biggest clients. I've been consulting on the show's development for months. The four seemed to tilt beneath me. You set this up not entirely, he admitted. Tassis really did come to you on her own after our fight about her wedding fund, which, by the way, I absolutely did take. Consider it my consulting fee for unwittingly helping launch her baking career, he turned to his sister. Your approach was genuinely inspired and tried Olivia's existing recipes and reputation to fine-tune your own concept before launching a competing business. I couldn't have designed a better strategy myself. That's not what I was doing, Tatius protested, but her voice lacked conviction. The trademark application says otherwise, Jason countered smoothly. Filed 2 weeks ago, right after you moved in here, I felt physically ill. Get out. Both of you, Jason raised his eyebrows. You are still planning to compete though, right? The producers are expecting the Chen Wilson team. Would be ashamed to disappoint them. Get out, I repeated, my voice shaking with rage. You heard her, Tazix said, stepping toward her brother. Leave. Jason just smiled. The competition starts filming. Tomorrow I'll be there as a guest judge for the final round. Burke. He backed toward the door. Oh, and Olivia, those permit violations you were worried about. Already reported, inspection scheduled for next week. After he left, the silence between Tezis and me was deafening. I can explain, she finally said. Don't bother. I turned away, fighting back tears of anger and betrayal. Just pack your things and go, Olivia, please. Yes, I registered the domain, but I was going to suggest a partnership, a second location under the Sweet Remedies brand. I would never steal from you. I whirled back to face her. The trademark application for my grandmother's recipes. She had the grace to look ashamed. I filed it provisionally, but I was planning to transfer half ownership to you. It was meant to protect us both before the competition aired. Stop lying, I said tiredly. Just stop. You are exactly like him. Her face crumpled. I'm not. I made mistakes, but my friendship with you these past weeks has been real, and the competition is still our best chance to save your bakery, especially with the inspection coming. I laughed bitterly. You expect me to trust you now to go on national television with you? What choice do we have? She asked quietly. If we don't show up tomorrow, you lose the bakery for sure. At least this way we have a chance. She was right, and I hated it. With the permit violation report and my dwindling funds, Sweet Remedies was hanging by a thread. The competition prize money was my only hope of survival. Fine, I said coldly. We'll compete, but this isn't a partnership anymore. It's a transaction. And when it's over, I never want to see either Wilson again. As Estes nodded and retreated upstairs to pack, I stared at the lilies Jason had sent, beautiful, showy, and ultimately toxic, just like the siblings who had infiltrated my life. The Sweet Success studio was a kaleidoscope of stainless steel and bright lights. 12 baking stations formed a semicircle around the judge's table, each equipped with professional-grade equipment that made my bakery's modest setup look like a child's easy-bake oven. Mia and I hadn't spoken more than necessary during our preparation. She'd moved to a hotel but arrived precisely on time with our ingredients, her marketing portfolio, and a forced smile for the cameras. The Chen Wilson team, exclaimed the production assistant who met us at check-in. We've heard amazing things about your audition recipes. The producers have you pegged as potential finalists? I managed a tight smile while mentally recalculating my strategy. Harasis, and I had planned to showcase my signature lavender honey cake with elderflower buttercream, a recipe that combined my grandmother's traditional techniques with my own innovative flavors. Now I wasn't sure I wanted to reveal my best work. Nervous, tasked us quietly as we unpacked our supplies. Just focused, I replied, avoiding her gaze. The competition's first round was straightforward. Create a signature servitor that represented your brand's essence. The judges would evaluate on taste, presentation, and storytelling. The last part being Tanish's specialty. As we worked, camera crews circled the stations, capturing dramatic close-ups and contestant interactions. A producer approached our station, clearly intrigued by the tension between us. So tell us how you two met, she prompted with a bright smile. Before I could respond with something neutral, Tacit jumped in. Olivia dated my brother years ago. It didn't end well, but we reconnected recently when I needed help. The producer's eyes lit up. And now you are business partners? Temporary collaboration, I corrected, measuring ingredients with precise movements. Interesting. And I understand one of our guest judges has a connection to you both. My hands stilled. What? The producer smiled conspiratorially. Jason Wilson, he mentioned. He knows you both quite well, so Jason hadn't been bluffing about being a judge. I glanced at Tazitz, who looked as shocked as I felt. He's my brother, she admitted, but we didn't know he was involved with the show. Even better. I've expected family reunion on camera, viewers will eat it up. The producer made a note on her tablet before moving to the next station. Did you know about this? I hissed once she was out of earshot. No, Tazit insisted. I thought he was just trying to get in our heads. I returned to my mixing bowl, mind racing. If Jason was truly judging the final round, our chances of winning had just plummeted. He would never allow either of us to succeed, especially not together. We need to change strategies, I said, making a sudden decision. New recipe. What? But we've been practicing the lavender cake for 2 weeks exactly, and Jason knows it. He's probably prepped the other judges to criticize it. Understanding dawned on Tazis's face. So what do we do? For the first time since discovering her betrayal, I looked at her directly. We use the recipe that isn't in my notebook, the one I created after Jason left. You have something else? I nodded slowly. My Phoenix cake, dark chocolate with cherry cognac filling and scorched meringue. I developed it during those first months alone. It's not in any book or file he could have accessed. That sounds amazing, Tazich said, genuine admiration in her voice. But can we pivot that quickly? We only have 2 hours. I can if you handle the presentation setup. I started grabbing new ingredients, and we'll need to adjust our story. For the next hour, we worked in focused silence. I poured my anger and determination into the batter while Tazix prepared our presentation board and marketing materials. Whatever her true motives, her skills were undeniable. She quickly crafted a compelling story about rising from the ashes that perfectly matched the Phoenix theme. As we completed our entry, the head judge called time. One by one, the teams presented their creations. Some were technically impressive but lacked story. Others had compelling narratives but fell short on execution. When our turn came, I carried our offering to the judging table with steady hands. Team Chen Wilson presents the Phoenix cupcake. Tange began smoothly. A journey from betrayal to rebirth, represented in dark chocolate with cherry cognac filling and torched meringue flames.